Michael Hernandez here, MLH Media, MLH Media Uncensored, episode 4 here today. And I'm here today with a member of the media scene. I know I often have not been able to bring on members of the media scene because we're often so damn busy. But Dylan Napoleon, my man, how you doing today, brother?
I'm good, man. It's great to be here. Always appreciate talking to you, whether it's a podcast or like we've done previews in the past. We've done a couple different kind of styles of this, but very happy we can get it done, man. I appreciate you being so patient with me, man. I have, as I told you or you saw, I have I work 40 hours and I do all the MMA stuff on the side. So sometimes it catches up to me, but man, appreciate you being patient. And of course, very happy to be here with my guy MLH.
It's a pleasure to have you on the program, my man. I mean, you have been absolutely killing the MMA game, and that's just not something that I've been seeing. I mean, the whole entire MMA community has been seeing it. I mean, I'll play a couple of clips within this episode to make sure to remind people of my guy over there's work. But let's just talk about the most recent pay-per-view, because I know you had your big showing at the New Jersey one. Sean Strickland, that's obviously a huge moment in your kind of journalism footsteps. But let's talk about this last trip, man, because I feel like this was probably, if not the biggest one of your career so far, definitely a
100%.
pretty big night.
Yeah, it definitely was the biggest one. You got it, man. But yeah, it was Salt Lake City. I'll give a brief rundown, then I'll answer whatever you want to know about it. But I was out there to cover UFC 307, Alex Pereira versus Khalil Roundtree, and it was an amazing fight week. I was there on behalf of Cage Side Press, and man, it was a great fight week. I'm sure we'll get into it a little bit more, so I'll leave it at that. But then after that, I transitioned into Karate Combat. I was working for them, helping their production for most of that second week that I was there. And yeah, man, it was a good experience. Karate Combat has a great, staff, great flow. They do things really nicely over there. I was impressed really like a lot. And yeah, it was a good week helping them as well. It was a different kind of experience. And I'm sure you got some questions about that. So I don't want to, spill it all here, but it was a great experience working for them and being a part of their crew.
Hey, man, you take the ball and you run with it however you want, my man. Any question, you go ahead and you run the field with my brother.
I
There is
interview
no
people too.
worries.
I know how it is when they just answer your questions before you can even get them all.
Now, you are always all good, my man. Always all free to answer any way you feel. But guess what? I really was just super interested in how you were able to balance that, because, I mean, talk about going from being a media member, which is oftentimes a lot of people don't discuss, of how you have to go into events and how you have to act professionally, and the way you can't cheer on your favorite fighters, and people think, oh, we're fans of MMA, but at the end of the day, we go into these events as professionals and we have to handle ourselves a certain way. But then you're going and working on the production side the next day. Was that a little bit of a different type of feel? Because I feel a
Yeah.
lot of guys don't get that type of experience.
Yeah, so it was, to my benefit, it was super nice because the first week I was literally just only worried about the UFC. Karate Combat event was the following week, so it was pretty much in chronological order. I was able to, literally all my focus on UFC. Then the second the UFC event ended, I was like, all right, well, now it's time to kind of get into Karate Combat groove, and that's what I did. So it was good. If both of them were like doing their fight weeks, if the fights were the same week, it would have been pretty tough. I probably wouldn't even have been able to do it because of I would have had to be at work literally for Karate Combat while I was supposed to be at pressers or stuff like that. So probably wouldn't even have worked if that were the case, to be honest. But the way that it was kind of formulated and operated with the order of events, 1 week apart, it worked out perfectly. I was able to focus on UFC, take care of business there, attend all those events, and then I transitioned right into Karate Combat.
Hey, I know that we would all love to say that the schedule was made for my guy Napoleon over there, but I think they had a family certainly in mind in the Pereiras over there. I mean, you had
Yes.
one of them performing the UFC 307 pay-per-view. Obviously, everybody knows Alex Poetan Pereira was able to get that win against Khalil Roundtree, but then his sister as well competed for Karate Combat. How was that to be able to see both sides of it? I mean, and you're from Connecticut, so you
Yeah.
definitely have your fair share of experience with Alex Pereira and that whole team.
So I appreciate you asking because it was like honestly, and you hit the nail on the head a while back. It's like you can't really be cheering people on, but it was super like heartwarming, if you will, to see what they did out there. At the end of the day, I come from Connecticut where I see them, almost every month at the gym, and I couldn't help myself but to kind of, be rooting for them. At the end of the day, that's what it was. Be full transparency. just be around these people, you grow a little bit of a relationship, and you can't help but want to see them succeed. So it was really nice to see Alex do his thing. He was, calm, cool, and collected all fight week. It was awesome to see him do his thing and put together that fight. And then the following week, what his sister did was amazing too. I was a part of that fight week, like really in depth. I was with them filming in the gym for one of the days. I was at the press conference. So I got to see it all, man. And it was like, it was super, like I said, heartwarming is like the only word. Like, you can't help but to be happy with the amount of hard work they put in and stuff like that. To see them, kind of make that come full circle was awesome.
And then especially too with, I mean, a lean story, and then you have Alex's story. Like, it's just so
Yeah.
crazy to see where they came from, moving to America to obviously train with Glover, and then now, just going and having quite the amount of success over, whether it be in karate combat, whether it be in Glory, now in the UFC. But speaking a
Yeah.
little bit about Glover to share, funny that we mentioned it. We have a little bit of a mutual connection. He began his time over here at the pit, over here in San Luis Obispo, now where yours truly is living. And so it's kind of interesting to see the way that MMA ties so closely in the world, because now Glover's over there training Alex and all those guys. And I swear, it's just a couple of years ago that Glover was the light heavyweight champion. So how was it for you to be in the kind of epicenter of all that in Connecticut, being with Glover, with Plinio, with all the, I mean,
Yeah.
this is kind of the hot spot for MMA right now.
Yeah, within that specific team, 100%. Like, their team is amazing from top to bottom. Like, I've interviewed so many, like, regional professional amateur fighters. People are on their way to doing what like Alex and Glover have been able to do. Man, their crop is amazing. They're just personal people. They're always down to have interviews and stuff like that. Always down to have me come in and check out the gym and record this or that. In fact, I've been able to take one of them fishing with me. Like, it's just cool to have that relationship with them, and they're the highest level professional fighters in the world, doing like at the epitome of the sport. So it's just super cool to have that kind of relationship. I'm still working on building it, of course, but having them in my home state, I can't help but to put together my best work with them, seeing what they're doing. It just kind of empowers me to take advantage what's here in my state and make the most of it. And I really do take pride on pushing their careers, because that not only are they great people, but they're amazing athletes. They're right near me, so I'd be dumb not to kind of chase that opportunity. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, 100%. And I tell so many people too, and I go to a school full of journalists, and they often ask me, like, where can I get involved? I'm like, just look around you. And you are
Yeah.
the perfect embodiment of that, my man. And just go ahead and speak into your roots a little bit. I know that, like how you said, you love fishing, you're 40 hours a week over there at Bass Pro Shops. This man is holding down the pyramid.
Yeah.
And just like go into how overall you got into MMA, because I know we stated Connecticut's that hotspot for MMA, but to really get into the career that you are delving in, it definitely takes a certain type of breed. So could you just go into that and really
Yeah.
how you dove into this whole journey, man? Because it's been a wild one to watch.
Yeah, it's a great story, quite honestly. So fishing kind of led it to what it is. I'm gonna give you a full story right here. So back in, I forget, it was at least maybe 5 to 8 years ago, probably around 6 years ago. Douglas Lima was fighting MVP at Mohegan Sun here in Connecticut, and I happened to be there with my dad for a fishing expo, a big convention, and we went to the weigh-ins, and I had never seen any MMA before. I had never seen anything, maybe on TV, but not in person. Like, it was the coolest thing in the world to see these guys facing off, especially I've watched it a couple times now. The Douglas Lima and MVP face off was like super, super intense. And I saw it in person for the first time, and I just like instantly fell in love with MMA. I got so invested into it, started watching, as much as I could. And then when I had been a fan for a couple years, I wanted to take a step and kind of dive into the sport on the media side, the journalist side, and I started with a local kind of publication out here in New England called New England MMA, and I was working with them, covering a lot of regional events, getting credentialed through them for other stuff too. but it was a small one. It wasn't exactly what I wanted, so I changed over to cage side, a place that gets credentials through the UFC and stuff like that to the biggest events, and just ran with it from there. So that fishing convention being there kind of sparked my interest, and then I just kind of like, let the ball roll, snowball effect. It just got bigger and bigger, and here we are,
And that's actually wild, no, because I wouldn't have expected a fishing expo to go ahead and lead into the MMA scene for you. I know that obviously
Yeah.
fishing is a big hobby for you, and it is pretty funny that you're able to take out a couple of those pit martial artists over there from Connecticut over to the. I mean, what did you take them out to a pond, a river? Give us the scene, man. Paint the
Yeah,
picture
yeah.
for us
So
all.
I took him out to a pond actually by my house. I knew that it'd be a good opportunity to try and catch some fish because it had recently been stocked with fish. Like they had, put a bunch of fish in there for people to catch. Took him there, and I had fished it earlier that day and caught a bunch. So I knew like, okay, this should be a good idea. Like we should have some luck here, right? We went over there first cast. He slings it out there. This is Wellington's Herman, by the way. He slings it out there first cast. He catches one. I was like, all right, this should be a great day of fishing, right? A couple hours at least. And bro, he took the first cast, he caught a fish. After that, didn't catch another one at all. Like no fish between the two of us. So it was insane. It was picture perfect because, like I said, first cast, one fish. We didn't get a bite the rest of the day.
Did you guys enjoy that fish after?
He did. He did. I helped him clean it. We made some memories. We got it. Nice video and stuff like that. He cleaned his own fish for the first time and everything. It was cool, man. It was a really cool experience, and of course I documented it and made a nice little video out of it.
No, I definitely think that's a pretty dope experience. And once you do get onto the West Coast, man, we're definitely gonna have to go ahead and hit one of these areas over here for fishing. I mean, Lake
You guys
Tahoe is
got some
definitely a pretty.
crazy trout fishing in the mountains over there.
That's what I'm saying, man. We got to go hit a spot for sure, man. It's been a minute since I've hit fishing. Shout out to Uncle Skip and my dad for bringing me out there that one time. It was a cool time. I've only gone once, but man, fishing is a different type of environment. Like I always tell people because it's like you like how you said, like I feel like that story is a perfect embodiment of fishing because like you can really go out there and just get one pull and then be sitting for 3 hours and kind of
Oh,
but it's the best time, man. It's just so relaxing and you get to watch the
yeah.
water. It's great.
That's exactly what happened too. We stuck around for another hour or two, chatted it up, and that was it, man. But thank God that fish came and bite on the first cast because it would have been a miserable couple hours. I would have felt like shit having him drive all the way to me and stuff like that when I was so certain that he'd be able to catch one. And he got one. So that's what matters most.
No, 100%. It always is a good time when you get to go home with at least one fish in your drawer and
And I had
a hell of a buddy too for helping him clean it. By the way, because not a lot of guys would have done that.
Yeah, I do it all the time. In fact, I have a bunch in the freezer right now, so it's nothing to me. I had probably done it earlier that day anyway, because I told you I went fishing on my own earlier that day. I could only assume I had to do it then. So during that time of the season too, like the fall time, or I'm sorry, the springtime, when the fishing is so good, I'm always catching fish, and it's just the right time of the year. I'm like it's second nature at that point. Like right now, if I had to clean a fish, like I'd be like, I haven't done this in a couple months, but always in the spring, I find myself doing that quite often.
I'll go ahead and keep that in mind for when you make your way over here to the West Coast, my man. But speaking a little bit more on that East Coast, I know you got another one of your cage side press kind of co-workers over there, Dylan Rush, man. He's been killing it now, working over there kind of alongside Henry Cejudo, helping him produce and doing his thing over there for pound. How has that been to kind of get to see? I know he's been making posts about it, but get to see both of your guys' kind of growth and just steadily kind of climbing through this MMA scene. Because I mean, personally, watching from the outside in, it definitely is pretty special. But from you yourself, I think the fans would love to hear how it's been.
To see Rush kind of do what he's doing, man, I couldn't be any more happy for him. Rush and I met at the first ever MMA event I had ever covered. It was the 2022 PFL playoffs were coming up on almost 2 years of me doing this, which is crazy to me. Time flies for sure, but yeah, he's always been my right-hand guy just because of the fact that he was the first guy I ever met in this, you know what I mean? And he kind of helped me do what I wanted to do and kind of help me make some connections that probably wouldn't have, like for example, he was at Cage Side Press well before me. recommending me and kind of giving a good, good picture of me, if you will. And yeah, he helped me land that gig, you know what I mean? Like we traveled so much together, shared so many hotel rooms and stuff like that. Like that's my man right there. And for him to be doing what he's doing, I couldn't be any more happy. He's working with Henry Cejudo right now. Literally at this moment, he's with Henry. He's with Kamaru Usman. I think he's with Donald Trump Jr. I forget who. No, he's seeing Mike Tyson today. I think Donald Trump Jr. was last night. Like he's all over the place. I think he's been on a plane every single day since last Sunday. So yeah, man, he's killing it. I couldn't be any more happy because I know he wishes the best for me too. So to see him doing what he's doing, it's perfect, man. He's making money. He's with some of the best in the game. What's better than that?
And I can attest to that, man, because seeing Dylan Rush, like, just, I mean, not only Dylan, but Dylan Rush, that's Dylan to the second power, man. Both of you gentlemen have just really, like how I said, absolutely flourished and just have developed so well. If we were in 2K, if we were in Madden, man, you guys got that superstar development right now, man, just only rising. But just a little bit more questions as we go on forward here in the call. I mean, can you kind of give fans the environment, how it is, not only for the UFC events, but like give the breakdown of a week through how it is? Because I feel like a lot of fans, like they see the pressers, they see this, they see that, but they don't see the work that goes in behind the scenes. So can you kind of give a week from maybe if you go to a PFL event or a UFC event of the exact trajectory of how everything goes from when you get there to the fight night to when you're leaving? I really think fans would be pretty interested on the media side of things.
I'll give a full breakdown. I just pulled up my calendar so I could go back and look at the first week of October. I was out in Salt Lake City, of course, UFC 307. I can go a perfect chronological order. So the event was October 5th. I arrived on October 1st, a couple days in advance. All the festivities, if you will, they begin on Wednesday, but I was flying across the country, so I needed almost a whole travel day just to get there and stuff like that, get settled in. It's not something I can do early morning just before the first event at this location. Sometimes like close ones, 2-hour plane rides, I'll fly out real early, get there in time for the first day and stuff like that. But this one, like I said, required a whole travel day. So that's what it took. It was an 8-hour trip, Connecticut to Salt Lake City with a couple layovers, couple delays in between, the typical airport stuff. So I arrived on the 1st. I chilled out for that day. I think I got there around like 5 p.m. Just relaxed. I actually met up with Rush that day because he was out there too, working for the UFC, doing embedded. He was a production assistant. Then the second was when kind of everything, started. The second I did media day. That's, for people who know, that's obviously when we bring fighters in. The UFC brings all the fighters in, the main card, plus one more in that case. And the media has the opportunity to interview or ask them questions, they're sitting in front of the media. Obviously, you know how that is, but I don't know about everyone else. So media day, ask all the questions, finish up somewhere around 3 or 4 p.m. And then after that, it's a lot of like uploading to YouTube, uploading to Google Drives, and getting the footage back to Cage Side Press where there's people working back home, kind of creating clips and stuff like that. So
I think a lot of people just watch it from their phones, watch the media days, and they don't see the work behind the scenes. They don't see, like how you said, you're up there. I mean, you're probably staying up hours after that press conference is done or after the media day is done to just get these clips out, to get these videos out. And that's oftentimes, I feel like, some of the most time consuming things, especially in my own personal experience. I don't know if you would care to add to that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So one of the nice things about Cage Side Press is they have people working back home who are like creating the clips. So I'll give you exactly what I'm doing. So I'm asking the questions. And then as soon as they swap fighters, there's usually like 5, 10, 20 minutes in between sometimes. And during that quick little window, I'm getting the SD card out of my camera, popping a new one in, and taking that SD card back to my computer and doing a quick edit on the video, getting some logos and stuff like that in there. And then after that, I'm exporting that to, an SD card or an external hard drive. That's technical. I don't think people care about that, but I'm exporting it and uploading it to things like YouTube. where then Cage Side Press back home will take that footage, highlight the clips, grab the clips, and make those quick little edits for social media. So thank God they're doing that back home. Otherwise, that'd be a ton of work added on for me. But sometimes there's like certain clips that they don't get that I want, stuff like that. So I'll go in, make a couple quick, secondary edits and stuff like that. But a lot of it for me is really just asking the questions and then getting the footage to YouTube. After that, Cage Side can get it, the people back home can get it, and they're there to make my life a lot easier.
No, and I feel like they definitely help out a lot, but it definitely is its own amount of work when you're having to, like how you said, you're taking the SD card out. And it's a hectic environment. I mean, you got 20 other reporters in there that are also doing the same exact thing, all trying to grab their own things, all trying to do their own work. So it's like I feel like the words do not go enough into the explanation of how hectic an environment that can be. Especially it seems all calm when you're watching it on TV, but it is not the calmest scene in the world. But
there's a lot of behind the scenes type stuff, and I just want to make sure I give you the full rundown. So that's kind of how Wednesdays usually work at a UFC pay-per-view. We handle the media day, interview everybody, get the footage up, make some edits, stuff like that. Thursday is usually the press conference. So we're going to go to the press conference. Everybody, a lot of people watch press conferences, so you already know what's happening. But for what I'm doing, I am asking the questions to the fighters when it's my turn, usually about 2 to 3 questions. And during the press conference, I'm doing like a lot of photography, a lot of still photos and stuff like that for Cage Side. That's what they look for from the press conference day, because we already get a lot of video from the media day. And then any questions from the presser that need to get posted and stuff like that, the UFC will usually supply the footage for that so they can make the edits from that. And then Friday is weigh-ins. Friday, I'm doing a lot of still photos, ceremonials and officials, a lot of still photos, getting photos for like the website articles and stuff like that. And so a lot of video fight day too, because that's all the media after the fights, the post-fight interviews. And so I'm asking questions. I'm doing the same thing I am on media day. So media day and fight day, I'm doing like all the question askings and all of the uploading. Well, the other 2 days, I'm just really focused on photography, still photos and stuff like that.
A lot of juggling and a lot of things that are going on, but definitely are killing it in your own right, my man. But just a couple more questions here for you today. Like, just speaking in terms of that post-fight presser and the success you've been able to have in it, man. I mean, you produced some pretty viral clips, from speaking to Dana White to speaking to Sean Strickland. What do you feel like is the real key thing that maybe some other reporters don't hit on in these post interviews? Because I feel like you're able to really get something out of a lot of these guys that maybe not every single question is geared towards, and I think it gives a lot of credit to yourself, man.
So that's a great question. I appreciate that too, man. I always said it. I kind of feel like a lot of media members are out there like really just highlighting the brand, the UFC obviously, and like future fights and matchups and call outs and trying to get clickbait in that ways. But at the end of the day, these guys are human more than they are fighters. Obviously, they train as the full-time job, so they're fighters then. But in terms of like fighting, they only fight 3 times a year, or maybe 5 times a year at most for a lot of people. Kevin Holland and Alex Pereira, they're superstars. They fight double that. But yeah, man, they really enjoy talking about themselves and highlighting their families, their journey and stuff like that. And one of my keys has always been just kind of personalizing or humanizing the fighters, allowing them to have an opportunity to talk about themselves and stuff like that. And I think that's one of my big keys, to be honest, is, giving them the opportunity to not talk about the next guy they want to beat up, but the person they are. You know what I mean?
And I feel like you've seen that in a lot of these. I mean, even speaking to when you got that clip out of Khalil Roundtree over there at the presser, not the presser, my apologies, the pre-fight conference.
Yeah,
and just it was, I mean, probably one of the most motivational speeches. How was that hearing live? Like, was that probably one of your, if not top interactions, like top 5 interactions? Because that was, I mean, I listened to that on a run later that day. Like, that's how motivating that speech was, man. It was killer.
Yeah, man. Even my brother texted me, and in the moment, I was just kind of listening and not like analyzing the words, if you will. Um, but even my brother was like, "Holy shit, dude! Like I like that was so motivational and stuff like that." And I had like people texting me and stuff like that. And I even looked through some of the comment sections when people were posting that clip, and it was amazing how many people were motivated by Khalil's speech there. And to be honest, even though he did not win the fight, I feel like he backed up his words. You know what I mean? Like if he went out there and got knocked out in round one, I don't know if people would take what he said as seriously. But my man, he went in there and gave an absolute dog fight for 4 rounds before he got finished, and he gave everything he had. So I feel like, his performance was a good kind of testament to his words, if you will. It makes you know that this guy means what he says. You know what I mean? And
No,
yeah, man, I was just glad that Khalil could voice himself. And honestly, man, that's what I mean. Like these guys, they want to tell you what they can do and what's going through their head rather than the next guy they want to see knocked down in front of them. You know what I mean? Yeah, they want to win fights. They want to, win championships. But at the end of the day, like, I can tell you, I can promise they love the opportunity to talk about themselves, and not in a selfish way, but just the amount of things that they've been through and stuff like that, and just personable stuff. And that's what Khalil did, man. He gave an answer from his heart, and I'm glad that I was able to give him the opportunity to say those words that meant so much to so many people.
I think there's a prominent Mexican revolutionist back in the day. His name was Emiliano Zapata. He said, "It's better to die on your feet than to live on your knees." And I
Yeah,
feel Khalil Roundtree is the perfect embodiment of that, not only as a man, but as a fighter. I mean, to go from being a 300-pound man to wanting, a lot of the things that he expressed to, going into that fight, having all the odds stacked against him, and obviously performing the way he did, like how you stated, it just goes to state how much of that character that he was really truly able to show out there. And I mean, just going into some of the like post-fight pressers stuff that you've done as well. You got to speak to Dana White as well. You got something good out of him. That must
yeah.
be pretty hard because Dana White's often an intimidating figure to a lot of these media members. How was it to kind of get that reaction out of Dana and get a little bit of a smile from the CEO?
I see your knuckles, man. You've been training. You've been hitting some pads.
No, did I look busted? Oh, Jesus Christ! No, that's from Khalil.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I didn't even see that. It's definitely not for me. I've been cold plunging, not hitting anything. Believe me,
Thank you.
I'm too old to be hitting anything.
So when you ask a question like that, man, you got a 50-50 chance. And I knew that. I knew that. I feel like I put myself in that situation a couple times. I think I did it with Sean Strickland too, and so far I'm 2-0. Thank the Lord.
Two for two.
I remember my thoughts going into the Sean Strickland fight week. I was like, all right, man, my biggest goal is not to get fried by Sean Strickland, not to get burnt by this guy. And thank God it didn't happen. I would have been the face of getting shit talked online. I know when I ask those questions, I have a 50-50 shot. I'm taking a risk, dude. I can get absolutely screwed over and embarrassed, or I can get a good answer. And to be honest, I love this sport so much. I love what I do so much that risk is worth it to me. You know what I mean? I had a good feeling. I was probably more 70-30 on both of those. I'm not going to go out there and ask some dumb shit to get a dumb answer. You know what I mean? But I knew that I had a decent shot at, getting a good reaction or just allowing them to have some fun. Honestly, that's kind of what I was trying to do with Dana. I was just trying to make it fun. You know what I mean? And it did. It worked. So yeah, I took a little risk. I knew how he could be. What the fuck are you talking about? He can, he can embarrass me in front of everybody, or we can get a cool little clip, about Dana with some blood on his knuckles, and that's what it turned out to be. So I was thrilled, but to be honest, it's just a little risk. It's like, something good can come from this, something bad, and I don't know what's gonna come from it, but I feel comfortable enough to ask it.
I would definitely, in your shoes, man. I would have been on that teetering block, but a hell of a question and a hell of a way to get into the mind of that Mr. Dana White, because I definitely think he will keep an eye out for you the next time that there is a presser. But speaking a little bit more about just some of the things that you have coming up on the next year, what are some possible events that fans could expect to see Dylan Napoleon at? I know PFL's got their event today that we're speaking. They got it on Saturday, I believe, over there, overseas. But what are some things that we could possibly expect to see out of Mr. Dylan Napoleon moving forward into 2025?
So at this very moment, October 18th, I'm not exactly sure, to be honest. I don't know what the rest of this year is going to look like. All I know is that I will not be traveling to any PFL events anytime soon. In terms of UFC stuff, if something comes up, if I get an opportunity, then I'm going to take advantage. That's what happened for Salt Lake City, quite honestly. Cage Side needed a guy to be there. Of course, I'm stepping up. You give me an opportunity to be in that room, I'm going to be there 100%. The PFL, they're out overseas right now, so I just know that's not exactly feasible at the moment. I'm not going to Saudi right now. But yeah, if something domestic-wise UFC came up, I'd be there. Karate Combat needs some help at their next show. It's overseas. It's in Thailand. I'd love to visit Thailand, but I don't have a passport right now. Never traveled outside the country yet, so I'm working on that. To be where I'm at and never not have a passport is pretty crazy, but it's coming. So hopefully I'll be out of here soon to check out another side of the world. But yeah, I don't know exactly. I think if something UFC comes up, I'm going to take it. If something Karate Combat comes up, I'm going to take it. But I'm also kind of focused on my own craft right now. I think it's a good opportunity without anything like lined up directly to focus on some of that stuff that I've been lacking in terms of, some skills to the game. So I want to dial in the video stuff. I sent you a picture of my new accessory, so I'm excited to check that out. I want to learn how to make some cool videos. That's kind of on the top of my mind right now. And then just getting good with the camera overall. If I can do that by the end of the year, I'll be happy. Those are some of my goals right now, is to dial in the video and the photography stuff. That's one of my biggest goals right now, and just come out 2025 like fucking fire with a camera, you know what I mean? And that's my goal, that's my plan. Work locally at some of the gyms, cover some regional stuff here in Connecticut, and get good with the camera. That's my biggest goal right now.
I think you're well on your way to that, Dylan, because
Hopefully.
I mean, just even checking out some of the stuff from the UFC 307, like some of the pictures, I was like, wow, like that face-off between Roundtree and Pereira that you got, that was killer shot, man. I'll probably throw that up just for the people to go ahead and check it out, man, because it was an absolute.
I showed this to Alex last week when I saw him in Salt Lake City, and he made me airdrop it to him. It was one of the coolest moments of my life, just knowing that he appreciated the photo too. But this right here is arguably my best photo I've ever taken. And obviously I'm showing it to you over a camera. It's not the best way to do it, but I'm going to send it to you. And if you want to include it, you're more than welcome. If you ever want to use it, you're more than welcome. But here it is.
Oh yeah. No, that's a banger picture right there, dude.
It's hard.
That's the brightness is a little peaking, but dude, no, it's that's a damn. No, I can tell, dude. The details on that one are.
Oh, there we
go. There we go. Yeah, I was gonna say I could tell the details are like good because the lighting's just super exposed on that. But dude, that's a pick right there, man. But I think you're well on your way to becoming like how you stated, even more skilled in your craft, even better with the camera than you already are. But I mean, Dylan, it's been a great pleasure to get to speak to you today. You definitely are well on your way to accomplishing a lot of these goals that you were setting forth in this call today. What are maybe some people or some entities? I know you obviously work alongside Cage Side Press, but there's a lot of people that have kind of helped you get to this point. Is there anybody that you would want to thank in terms of just the MMA career and just balancing everything? And maybe you got someone that's been helping you out at home in terms of keeping everything afloat. Anybody you want to thank on this call?
There's a laundry list, but first I know a lot of people do this at the end of the interviews. I'm not just doing this because it's a normal thing to do. This is the most I've ever gotten to talk about myself, man, and I really appreciate the opportunity. So first thing, I want to thank you. Obviously I know what you're about, my man. You do great work and stuff like that. So I knew I was getting into a great kind of interview podcast with you today. But this is the first time I've ever been able to really highlight what I've been up to. So I want to say thank you to you, man. Dive into what I've been up to quite a bit. Usually I'm doing what you're doing. We're always talking about, other people and stuff like that. So to be able to kind of give my perspective and highlight that, I appreciate you giving me the opportunity. I like this series to what you're doing, with the pod and everything like that. But man, in terms of people to thank, first, I think I'm gonna leave some. I think I'm gonna forget about somebody. So don't hate me. But man, our whole list of people that me and you talk to on a daily basis, our group chat. You know what I mean? Those people are some of the most supportive people. I want to thank every single one of those people that I talk to, through Instagram and our big group chat. Only me and you really know what that means, but there's a lot of great people involved. Um, to name a few that I talk to the most, you, Dylan Rush, Cade Morehouse, Pat Dana. Those are some of the guys I talk to the most. That's kind of my clique. You guys are my clique, kind of. But I have to thank my family too. They've always supported me with this stuff. All the athletes that have ever given me an opportunity to talk to them, those people deserve a huge thank you, because without those opportunities, it would be hard to do what I do now. All the gyms that have welcomed me, all the people that have really given me opportunities, the people at PFL, Bellator, who gave me the first ever opportunity to be in a newsroom like that in MMA. Because without that, I would have never had any experience to be in the UFC now. You know what I mean? So I thank them. All the people who support me on Instagram, who follow and tune in, means the world to me. Those people, as those people fuel us.
Yeah, and I always tell people all the time, like, whether they come up to me in person or whether they're commenting on my stuff, like, it's crazy, like how you say, like, we always talk about other people's stuff, but the fact that people want to just hear us get on a camera and yap and go back and forth, it's an absolute blessing to be in the position we're in. So I'm glad that you highlighted that. I appreciate you showing love all the time. I appreciate you hopping on this call today, my man. It's an absolute pleasure to get to chat with you.
I feel bad I wasn't able to get it done sooner with you, but bro, I promised when we were able to get this done, bro, this was a damn good interview from your part. The questions you ask, I know, like I said, I know what you're about. I already know you do great work, whether it's, at in a cage, after fights, post fights, you do great work, or on the side of the cage too, commentating. So I already knew what I was getting myself into. You're my guy. And I appreciate you being patient, because I knew when we were able to make this happen, the duo between me and MLH, we'd come up with something great. You know what I mean?
Hey, Napoleon and MLH, man, 2025, we're coming forward. Michael Hernandez here, MLH Media
Uncensored. Might be sharing an apartment, my man.
That's what I'm saying. Hey, a little sneak peek for the fans at home, man. Michael Hernandez, MLH Media, Dylan Napoleon, MMA, signing out.